There I am. Hello, everyone. If you've been waiting, I'm very sorry that I'm a few minutes late today. I wish I had a good excuse. It's just been one of those days. I've got one of my kids home today and I was just running around doing a few things. So I apologize and I hope you haven't been waiting for me. Now, today we're doing part 2 of the Q&A video because with Kirsty the other night, we had so many questions come through. And we kind of knew it would be that way because there always are so many questions. But I decided to sort of save the food-based questions so that I could come in and talk to you guys separately about it and cover them myself. So we are going to dig into that today. And, oh good, I can see that I am actually live, but I can't see the comments again. Let me just go and find them so I can actually interact and say hello to you. I hope you've had a great day. It's been really busy for Jordan so far up at the warehouse. You guys have really thrown a lot of support behind us and yourselves in getting so many fibre-rich blends and those whole foods ordered. And I'm so thrilled. Like, it is such a fun time to see those orders going out the door in the courier van out to your homes, because it really does speak volumes to us that the education that we're putting out there with Kirsty is actually landing, and you guys are excited to increase that in your life, and it really is fun to see that happen. So thank you on behalf of you and on behalf of us for supporting us. That's just beautiful. So thank you. Now I can now see. Good, now I can see. Oh, Julie, you made it. The acting premier finished, did he? And I understand you wanting to get information about the lockdown. If I was you, I'd be in the exact same position. Okay, so guys, let's get stuck in. There's a lot to cover. We're going to kick off with our question number 1. This was actually asked by various people, so I'm not going to name who they are, but they wanted to know what the difference is between Ceylon cinnamon and cassia cinnamon. Sometimes the Ceylon cinnamon is called True Virum cinnamon, and it's the same cinnamon that I referred to in one of the videos throughout the challenge. I was probably putting it in the crepes, perhaps, or the chia pudding. I put it in almost, I shouldn't say everything that I make here at home, but I put cinnamon, this good cinnamon, in so much of what I make here at home. We go through like one of those 100-gram packets at least once a month, because we just, 1, it's delicious, and 2, it's just packed full of benefits. And so we put it into pancakes and on top of our porridge and in our smoothies and a lot of things. Now, the difference between Ceylon cinnamon and the usual cassia cinnamon that you see lining supermarket shelves typically is a few different things. We'll talk about taste, texture, and health benefits. So talking first about taste, Ceylon cinnamon has actually been preferred by chefs for a really long time because it has a really beautiful, soft type of taste. It doesn't have the strength or the robust spiciness that the cassia has, so it's really lovely and soft and velvety, and it's really good for desserts. In terms of its texture, it is very, did I say already? It's very soft and velvety, and that's because they roll the sheets of cinnamon super duper thin before they then turn it into a powder. And so the texture wise, it's just lovely and soft. As for health benefits though, and this is the bit that people were so interested in some of the comments that were going on in the threads in the videos, and that is that cassia cinnamon, not Ceylon cinnamon, is a really rich source of curcumin. Curcumin is a toxin which in rodents has been shown to cause kidney, liver, lung damage, and in some cases cancer as well. Now, to get you over the limit that is considered safe for that type of toxin, you'd need to consume about 1 or 2 teaspoons a day of cassia cinnamon, and that's not really a whole lot. And so if we want to just take that extra step to protect ourselves from that particular toxin, then going for the Ceylon cinnamon is a really great option. Now, apart from that, we do need more studies to compare the Ceylon to the cassia cinnamon. Many people do believe it to be far superior in terms of its health benefits, but to be able to sit here comfortably and claim them, I'd want to see more studies. But suffice to say that there are people who claim that it is healthier. The other thing to consider is that cassia cinnamon is rarely the organic cinnamon. And so if you're buying cassia cinnamon, just the generic run-of-the-mill cinnamon that you find in the grocery store, what you'll find is that it's subject to irradiation at import to Australia, because cinnamon's not really grown in Australia. So we're going to be importing it from overseas. And because cassia cinnamon generally is not organic, it will be subject to that irradiation. And so that radiation is basically to kill bacteria and extend the shelf life of that spice. Now, the levels of radiation that's used for different types of foods does vary, but with spices, it can be a lot higher. It usually is a lot higher because they're usually consumed in such small quantities. So that's another reason that I like to choose the organic Ceylon cinnamon as well. So I hope that helps. Oh, Julie, it hasn't finished. Too depressing. I'm so sorry to hear that. I will have my fingers and toes crossed, and I'll catch up on the news after this live finishes, so I can figure out what's going on for you guys down there. Holy cow. Holy cow. All right, question number 2. Rebecca Bolton. I love this question, Rebecca. She has asked about, let me just say what she said. I would also like to know if all forms of food are the same. For example, is raw better than cooked food? Do smoothies and soups contain the same amounts of fibre in blended or blitzed form? Love it. Okay, let's pick it apart. We're going to talk first about blended or blitzed food. So in answer to one of her previous questions, if you blend food, yes, it does still contain the same amount of fibre. So the fibre levels won't be affected. And yes, by blending a food, it does make those nutrients more available to the body. Now, that might come as a surprise to some people, because I know that there's a bit of talk about types of juices degrading the nutrients in a juice because of the type of blending that it has as part of its machinery. And that is true because of the heat that it does generate, etc. When it comes to blending, pureeing food, making smoothies, etc., the same is not true. And so what it actually does is, by blending, actually, I'll tell you this little bit of fun information in the next question when someone asked about something else. But basically, if you look at cooked mashed carrot, for example, and then you look at cooked pureed carrot, you wouldn't assume that they would be very different in nutrient levels, would you? But even I was surprised when I looked at the study that showed that the pureed cooked carrot actually provides us with, or we absorb, 3 times the amount of carotene than the mashed cooked carrot does. And that's because simply the beta carotene is bound to that cell matrix wall in the carrot. And when it gets cooked and blended and pureed, that beta carotene can break away from that cell wall easier and become more easily absorbed by our body. And so it goes to show that even just the difference between mashed and pureed can actually make a big difference when it comes to how much we're absorbing in our body. And I think that, what's that saying? It's not what we eat, it's what we absorb. I don't know if that quote was coined by Kirsty or not. I've heard it somewhere, but it's so true. And when we look at that, it can be quite surprising. Now, the same thing has been shown to be true in green spinach as well. So cooked green spinach can help us absorb more of those nutrients as well. But when it comes to, let's talk a little bit more about cooked versus raw. It's a very interesting question. And when we look at the principle behind this, not surprisingly, it takes us back to those wise words that Kirsty has been sharing with us around diversity. So if we are eating a diverse range of cooked food, raw food, blended food, not blended food, we will be in a very good position, because diversity in both the fibers that we eat and the nutrients that we eat, but also the way that the food is prepared. Diversity is always king. So let's look at vitamins and minerals. So if you look at cooked food first, let's look at let's look at minerals first. Minerals are much less likely to be affected by cooking heat. But yes, some vitamins, particularly those unstable water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C and B, are especially prone to being affected or partially lost in that cooking process. And so one good example of that is raw broccoli. If you look at raw broccoli and then some cooked broccoli, what you'll typically find is that the raw broccoli contains twice the amount of vitamin C than the cooked broccoli does. And so for most vegetables, especially those rich in vitamin C, it's best to keep that heating to a minimum. So you want to really just steam it for 5 minutes is plenty of time to steam the food to make it more enjoyable to eat. And on the other hand, fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, they're less likely to suffer damage from heat. And cooking can even increase the way that we can absorb those nutrients. So to look briefly at that, let's look at tomatoes. So studies have found that people who consume even 30 to 60 grams of tomato paste end up with more than twice as much lycopene, which is another antioxidant like beta carotene. They end up with more than twice the amount of lycopene in their blood as when they ate much larger portions of fresh tomatoes. And so gram for gram, processed tomato products, which kind of goes against common sense, I know, but gram for gram, those processed tomato products like sauces and pastes or even juice contain up to 2 to 10 times as much available lycopene as fresh tomatoes do. So vegetables like carrots, spinach, mushrooms, asparagus, capsicum, and many others can also supply more antioxidants to us when they're cooked, which is surprising, I know. But the bottom line is this: it doesn't actually matter that much if you're having cooked or raw. You just can't go wrong with more vegetables in your diet. And like I said, you want to have a wide variety of both types of vegetables, but also the way that those vegetables are cooked. Hello, Max. Busted. You okay?
Yeah.
All right. So you want to have that broad range, but also you want to, like I said, it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. So you also want to be making sure that you're chewing it really well, because chewing will kickstart that cephalic stage, which is getting our digestive enzymes ready to break down that food and absorb all the awesomeness that we're eating. So chew it well, have a diverse range, cook it, have it raw, blend it, don't blend it, just have a diverse range. The bottom line is we want to be getting that into our body, and however we can do that to make it taste good and help us want to eat it, then that's what we should do. So I hope that helps. Hello, Jojo. Okay, so Tanya has asked, does grinding chia seeds first make them better absorbed by the body and easier to digest? So you can guess what my answer to this will be based on what we've just spoken about. The short answer is yes. So the good, better, best for chia seeds is this. A good way to consume chia seeds is any way you can. So just eating them whole and raw, you'll still get amazing benefits from them. The better way to eat chia seeds is, yes, to soak them first in, say, a chia pudding or in a smoothie if you let it sit for a few minutes. Though that is a better way because you will get more nutrients. The best way to have chia seeds is to grind them up first and soak them. And so a lot of people who don't like the texture of chia seeds will actually grind their chia seeds before making a chia pudding. And if you're going to make it a chocolate chia pudding, it ends up like a chocolate mousse. And in fact, some people can't even tell the difference between a ground chia pudding that's chocolate and a chocolate mousse if you do it well. So that's the good, better, best with chia seeds. But the bottom line is just have them. If it means that you get more of them in your diet, just have them as they are. Now, Steve or Ange Cookie, she asked about stevia. She said, I normally use Nirvana stevia, 100% pure extract, certified organic powder. It's white. Should I be using green instead, and why? So, Ange, I'm assuming I'm talking to Ange, and first up, it's really great that you have chosen an organic one. That's the first big tick for the brand that you've chosen. Commercial stevia is rarely grown in Australia. Oh, buddy, you want to get a glass of water? That's why he's home today. He's got quite a cough. So commercial stevia is rarely grown in Australia, and so like that cassia cinnamon that we just spoke about, will be subject to irradiation at import. So commonly what's used in Australia is methyl bromide. Methyl bromide has been outlawed, for want of a better word, in many other countries, but in Australia we are a bit slow off the mark. No, buddy. We're a bit slow off the mark, and we haven't yet axed that from our go-to methods for radiation. So it's not the best choice. I won't go down that track. We could get very sidetracked. So suffice to say that with the methyl bromide, studies have shown that there can be that small residue left on the food afterward. So the fact that yours is organic has ticked that box. However, the difference between white and green stevia is that the green stevia is basically the whole leaf of the stevia plant simply ground up. The white stevia powder is quite different. It's highly processed with methyl alcohol, other toxic chemicals, or bleach, and none of those things are legally required to be disclosed on the label. They're all classified as processing aids. Now, this is something that's been really eye-opening to me as I've worked with our expert panel, because every time we look at bringing on a product at the Whole Food Collective, we screen it first with this list of experts on our panel, and they all have their own specialties. And so one thing that I have just been so amazed at are these processing aids. And so we had to knock back two stevia products before we settled on the one that we do offer now, because of those undeclared processing aids. And so when it comes to white stevia powder, what you'll find is that it's not actually stevia, it's an extract of stevia that's been super refined and marketed as healthy. But when you look at the chemical refinement process, the white stevia is really no more natural than those chemical cocktails that you find like Splendor and NutraSweet and Equal, etc. Those types of, fake sweeteners. So an organic green stevia, like, I can't think of the other brand, but like the one that we have at the Whole Food Collective, it's just green leaf, an organic green stevia leaf ground into a powder. It's going to be the best way to go. I think that's really about all I need to share about the stevia. I can get a little bit carried away, so just tell me if I'm taking too long on these answers. Okay, next question. This is one, Christy asked this question, and then a whole bunch of people came and, was it this one? At least a few people anyway, said, yes, I want to know the answer to that too. That's a great question. The question is this: how long will linseed stay nutrient rich and not rancid after I grind some in my coffee grinder? Are they the same thing in nutrition / omega-3 as flax seeds? So, Christy, and all those who wanted to know the answer as well. First, flax seeds and linseeds are exactly the same thing. I know it can be confusing. You can blame the Latin derivative of the flaxseed plant for the dual names. But basically, flax seeds and linseeds are one in the same. So flax seeds are, as they, well, I've got some at the back there, but I'm not going to take my time trying to get all the other bottles out to show you, but I wanted to show you. But basically, the linseeds come in this natural, ingenious wrapper, being the whole seed. The whole seed, like the outside of the seed, encompasses the most amazing, precious cargo, which is that the beautiful polyunsaturated fatty acids, amino acids, and other fat-soluble vitamins. There's all this wonderful goodness inside that seed in that natural packaging. So in its whole form, you don't need to refrigerate it because that seed is doing its job. It's containing it all. The minute that you grind it, you are going to open up that seed and expose it to things like heat, light, ambient fluctuations in temperature, etc. And over time, it's going to start this process of it going oxidizing or going rancid or going bad, as you might hear. So when it comes to storing linseed meal, like chia seeds, there's a good, better, best approach. So the good option for using and storing linseeds or flax seeds is, like with chia seeds, just use them. Like however you can get them in, even if you've just ground them and put them back on your pantry shelf, like I usually do, then it's still going to be an amazing benefit to your body. And I will address those concerns that some people had in just a second about it only lasting 1 week. So that's the good approach, is just use them. The better approach is to store the bag of ground linseed that you might buy already ground, just store it in the fridge in a glass jar and use it that way. The best approach, like you're doing, is to grind your own linseed meal in small batches and rotate it each week, and just keep what you're going to use inside of a week inside the fridge. However, that being said, interestingly, I did a bit of digging to find this too, because when I was looking at trying to find, a scientifically backed answer to your question, what I typically found is lots of opinion online about the 1 week mark being the magical number where it just starts to go rancid. But I tried to find something that backed that up. And the only piece of information that I could find was actually a study done by the Flax Council of Canada. I had to look at my notes, but the Flax Council of Canada. Now, what they did is they coarsely ground their linseeds and they stored them at room temperature for 10 months without spoilage or loss of those omega-3 fatty acids, or the ALA, which is why we love linseed so much, right? So even though we know that heat and light can impact those fatty acids and start to spoil them over time, it's not going to happen at such a fast rate as what is commonly thrown around. And the reason that I don't store mine in the fridge is simply because my fridge space is precious, as I'm sure it is for many of you. And so what I find is that I just don't have room. And so I keep it on the pantry shelf, and I've never had an issue with it. And you can smell it when it goes rancid. And I've never had that happen. So I hope that that helps ease your mind. If you do have room in the fridge, of course, pop it in. It's going to be better over time to do that, but you don't need to for a short period of time. Hope that helps. Now just touch base here. Julie, where can we learn more about the food we eat or ingredients? Julie, it's something that I want to do more and more of, just in our main Facebook group at the Whole Food Collective. We've started off doing weekly features. This coming week is quinoa, and we'll be learning all about this type of stuff that I've been talking about today. So every week it'll be something new. Also, Frankie Bell at Additive Free Kids is an amazing resource of information about this stuff. She sits on our expert panel, and my goodness, does she dig deep, and she teaches me a thing or two like every week. So she's a great person to follow. Okay, when it comes to the next tip, okay, tips for chia pudding. All right, guys. A lot of people love chia pudding. We had so many beautiful comments in the Facebook group about people saying just how much they loved that recipe, and it was a great thing to see. Occasionally, what you'll find is that someone in your family, or maybe even yourself, just don't warm to it. And so, if that's the case, before you give up, please try these tips. Tip number 1 is texture. Now, we did touch on this when it comes to making those chia seeds more, making those nutrients more available to your body. And that was to grind the chia seeds first, because that is like the main bugbear that people have with chia seeds, is that texture. It kind of reminds them of like caviar, like that, that texture that some people just don't like. So grind the chia seeds first, and then it will give it that chocolate mousse texture that so many people love. The second bugbear that people may have with chia seed pudding is typically the recipes call for coconut cream, coconut milk, those types of heavy fat content liquids. And actually, even after filming the video that I made for you guys, I was having that chia pudding a lot. And after a little while, I was like, oh, I just can't have that much, even if it's good fats. My body doesn't want that much going inside of my body every day. And so what I did was I just changed the liquid to a non-fat heavy liquid, like any plant-based milk, like coconut milk, like almond milk, or my personal favorite is coconut water. There's a recipe in the ebook. Please download it today before it goes away at midnight. There's a recipe in the ebook for a summer, what did I call it? Something like summer sensation, because it just tastes like summer. It's coconut water, a passion fruit, and some frozen raspberries in the vanilla chia pudding. gee whiz, it's amazing. I highly recommend it. So that's texture and heaviness resolved. Another tip for chia pudding is try toppers. Like everyone likes a bit of crunch. So try some granola or chopped nuts. Cacao nibs are a great way to go because cacao nibs are our weekly feature last week in our main Facebook group was cacao. Cacao nibs are the best chocolate, type of chocolate, I should say. They are just loaded with all sorts of things that are fantastic for you, including fibre, but also they're the least processed. And so having some cacao nibs sprinkled through there is going to give you something to chew as well that will help that cephalic stage of your digestion. So many great things to be said for adding a bit of crunch in that chia pudding. The other thing to do is to try layers. Oh my goodness, our kids love the most basic berry jam sauce that I make on the regular here for our pancakes and also for our chia puddings. All I do is get a frozen bag of berries, and I don't use the whole bag, maybe just 2 cups of berries maybe, and I'll put it in a saucepan with just a dash, you don't need much, a dash of water, a dash of lemon juice, and a dash of maple syrup. You don't even need the maple syrup if you're wanting to avoid it. And you just let that simmer and mash it with a fork or a masher, and it makes the most delicious berry compote for pancakes, or if you want to make it like a jelly, add a little bit of gelatin and let it set in the fridge and make those layers in your chia pudding. Oh, so good. Now, the other tips for chia pudding, sweetness. Some people say they don't like sweetness in their chia pudding, and honestly, you don't really need to have it sweet. And someone made this comment. There was a post in the group about someone who wanted savoury breakfast options that were high fibre. And someone made a great point, is that you don't need to add sweetener into your chia pudding. It doesn't always need it. So even if you do add cacao, try it without the sweetener in it, and it might be wonderful to your taste buds too. Last tip is sometimes chia puddings go too dry, and nobody likes a dry chia pudding. So when you put it in the fridge, make sure you cover it. You can use a container with one of these, like a jar with a lid, or if you've got it in a cup, I commonly use a little beeswax wrap. You can get them at the Whole Food Collective, or you can make them at home, whatever. They're so easy, just pop it on and it's done. Make sure it's covered basically, otherwise it will go too dry in the fridge. So I hope that helps as well. Okay, I'm coming back to these questions. Rosie says, Rosie, that's my daughter's name. Is there a difference between brown and golden flax seeds? Yes, Rosie, minimally, there is a minimal difference between brown and golden flax seeds. Golden flax seeds, I'm going to test my memory here. They're very similar nutritionally speaking. They're negligible in taste. There's no taste difference. They can both be Australian and organic, but nutritionally speaking, I believe, I wish it was accessible to my brain right now, but the golden linseeds from memory may be marginally different in some ways. Now, I remember thinking my preference was to reach for those golden ones, and there was a reason for it, and now I don't remember, so I will get back to you, Rosie. But yeah, the golden ones, I remember saying in a video, go for gold with those golden linseeds, and there was a reason for it. So I'll get back to you on that. Christy, you're welcome. Okay, Belinda wanted to ask about sweet potato in smoothies. She said, when making the pureed sweet potato to freeze and use in smoothies, do you peel it before steaming or leave the peel on? Belinda, I personally leave the skin on. I just give it a wash first. And the reason for that is, as you may know, most of the nutrients and antioxidants and even fibre in vegetables is found near that skin. And so if you're going to peel it first, you will be removing a lot of the goodness. And interestingly, with sweet potato particularly, most of that fibre is found in that skin, which is, I know it can be surprising, but yes. So plus, it's also less hassle. Even when making mashed potato for dinner for the family, I will more than often leave the skin on, and I'll just channel the very awesome Jamie Oliver and call it rustic and just call it like a chef's touch on the dinner. It's just so much less hassle and it's so much more nutritious. So I hope that helps. Christina, yes, okay. Christina has asked about soaking nuts and seeds and how long should we soak them for. So The times that you soak nuts and seeds for will vary according to which nut or seed you're soaking. So generally speaking, those nuts and seeds with a higher fat content, like cashews or macadamias or pine nuts, they will need far less time soaking. And in fact, you shouldn't soak them for as long because those good fats can start to break apart and become damaged. So things like almonds and most sort of non-high fat nuts and seeds will do very well with 8 to 12 hours. Cashews or macadamias are more like 4, even you can get away with 2 for those. So it's probably best, rather than me just kind of listing off a big list of times with different nuts and seeds, Google will be your best friend here. So whichever one you want to soak, just give it a quick Google, make sure it's, from a credible source, someone who knows what they're talking about, and that should really help you out. But just as a general rule, if it's a higher fat content, you want to soak it for only 2 to 4 hours. If it's a non-high fat content nut or seed, 8 to 12 hours is great. So, okay, cool. All right, Catherine. Catherine asked about how much fibre is in one slice of diversity dough. Now, I went to Kirsty just to confirm this because I was like, I wasn't sure. When she came back, 15 grams is actually a huge amount of fibre for one slice of diversity dough. So that's definitely a powerful and easy swap for things like avocado on toast for breakfast. If you put avocado on a piece of diversity dough, avocado is very high in fibre, and then you're going to add it onto a piece of diversity dough. You're going to get around half or even marginally more than your initial goal of 30 to 35 grams of fibre in a day just by that one meal. So definitely give it a go if you haven't already. Sonia asked, and I wasn't quite sure of the context of Sonia's question, but she said, can you use Greek yogurt instead of the liquids? If you do you need to add a liquid to keep moisture? Now, Sonia, I'm assuming that you're meaning for the gut-loving smoothie. And so if that's the case, then yes, taste and texture-wise, the Greek yogurt will work perfectly in the gut-loving strawberries and cream smoothie. However, if you are, the blend itself has been crafted to support that gut health independently. So even without the cultured yogurt, it will still support that gut health. All the ingredients in that blend are working toward supporting and nurturing that gut health. But if you want to take it next level, that cultured yogurt really is so wonderful and a powerful add-in. And what I find is that it's the best way for me to get that cultured yogurt into the kids without them noticing, because what I've found is that even if I add sort of honey or berries in a bowl for them, they're not big on the cultured yogurt. They love the coconut water kefir. But even though I've heard some kids do love that cultured yogurt just independently, my kids haven't really come across. So what I do is I add it into their smoothie, and I just feel so much better knowing that they're getting it in and they don't complain. They still love the smoothie. So that's why I love to add it into the smoothies. Just touch base with you in the comments. Lana. That's a really good question, Lana. She said, do we need to soak beans that are tinned? Well, Lana, as you know, they've been soaked in the brine, but the missing ingredient in there is an acidic medium. So to get rid of those enzyme inhibitors or that phytic acid, you're going to need to have something acidic, and that can be some salt, or it can be some whey from your yogurt, a bit of lemon juice. Any of those things can be that acidic medium to add in. And so you don't need, obviously you can just use them in your cooking and they just won't be activated, that's all. So the best way is to add that acidic medium in. And I think the reason that they don't add it in brands that are quite health conscious and aware of this, sometimes I thought, well, why don't they just do it for us in the tin, right? But I'm pretty sure that it would react to the tin and it would cause a bad reaction that wouldn't be good for us. So I'm sure that's why they don't do it. But I wish that was the case, Lana. I do. When it comes to Tashia's, I hope that's how I pronounce your name, Tashia. And I heard my mother-in-law, who works in member care, like if you email us, it'll be Susanna who replies, and that's my mother-in-law. She told me today, Tashia, that she knows you. So hello from Sue. But she has a question. She says, is there a taste difference between the white and black chia seeds? There is no taste difference between the white and black chia seeds. Again, it's not accessible, but the only difference is that the black ones, well, the ones that we offer at the Whole Food Collective, the black ones are organic and imported from overseas. The white ones are spray-free, grown right here in Australia. So it depends what your values are and what your preference is. I typically reach for the white ones from Australia. And also they can have a different, I guess, aesthetic in some meals, like the chia pudding. I typically like to have the white ones in a chocolate chia pudding to contrast the brown of the cacao. Just makes it really nice to look at. And then the brown ones I have in the, do I can't remember. I use, yeah, they're interchangeable, but basically that's the difference. And you might prefer them used in a meal. Some meals and not others. Stuck on my words with that one. I liked this question too. This question's from Anushka. And she said, what's the difference between tinned coconut milk and coconut milk in the milk aisle that comes in like the carton, like the almond milk box carton? And here's the difference, Anushka. So basically, when you buy a carton of coconut milk, have a look at the ingredients. I did that this week. I went online to one of the supermarket's websites and I looked up coconut milk in the carton. What I found is that you're mostly paying for filtered water. It was 7% coconut cream. And then above and beyond that, they've also added some poor quality salt devoid of, sorry, my dad laughed really loud and it scared me. So apart from the 7% coconut cream, they've also added a poor quality salt that's devoid of those essential trace minerals that we need for survival. So that's why it's always good to get a good quality salt. And also you're paying for stabilizers. Now stabilizers, they're a conversation for another day, but there is a great free ebook that I might link you guys to that explains which stabilizers are to avoid and which ones are okay. But suffice to say that the brand that I looked at with the coconut cream in the carton had 3 different types of stabilizers, 2 of which were to be avoided, and 1 was dependent on the quality of it. So it's a bit hard to say when you're just looking at a box, right? So what you want to do is just use the tinned coconut cream or the tinned coconut milk. The difference between, if you're looking at a coconut cream or milk tin, that's another topic. Let's shift gears into that now. So you want to get just 2 ingredients in that coconut milk. These tins can also be full of stabilizers and thickeners and other things that we don't need or want. You only want to have coconut and water. They're the only 2 ingredients that you need in a coconut milk tin. Now, there's a select couple of good brands that do that. I'm just wondering how in-depth to get with. Okay, I'm going to summarize and just be really quick on the rest of the answer, because I'm not sure how deep you guys want me to go on this. But basically, if you are wanting to make a cultured yogurt with coconut cream, or you're wanting to have like a raw cheesecake that sets well, you're definitely wanting to get the coconut cream tin that has 100% coconut cream. If you have water in there, it will not set. So the go-to brand is AM, AYAM. You can get it in the supermarkets. You can actually get it from Cultured Wellness when you get your culture starters. You used to be able to get it through us, but their supply dried up and I think we weren't buying enough from them to justify it. And so anyway, the point that I want to get at with this coconut cream is this. There is no organic coconut cream tin that does not have water added. I spoke to AM Direct about this, and basically they've got 2 different countries that they source their coconut cream from. The organic one is from one country, the non-organic one is from another country. And this country that has the non-organic coconut cream has a special secret method to extract that coconut cream without needing water, and they won't share it with anyone else, even AM themselves. And so there's no one who can make an organic coconut cream without water except for AM, who have got it locked under lock and key. So I'm sorry I said that wrong. Wow, my head today. Basically, you cannot get a non-organic. Oh wow, guys, what's with my head? let me specify, let me clarify, and then I'm moving on from this question because I don't know what's wrong with my head. The organic coconut cream cannot come without water. There you go. But you can still get good quality coconut cream with just water. You don't only want 2 ingredients. Wow, that was embarrassing, guys. Jojo says the organic AM brand has guar gum. Yeah, that can be the case, Jojo. So you want to get one that doesn't. The one that we sell at the Whole Food Collective does not. So if you want to get the organic coconut cream, you can get the one from us. That is perfectly clean. It's just water and coconut. If you want one that sets really well, just get the non-organic one in the AM brand. There you go. Hope that helped. All right, Genevieve, here we go. Genevieve said, is there any different benefits from letting the chia seeds gel up? So we've gone here and we've done that. So yes, they become more, the nutrients become more available to us and more easily digestible if we've soaked them first. It's also a really great way to get more hydration in, because as we spoke about, those chia seeds are hydrophilic. They are going to soak up so much water. And so you want them to kind of have done that before they enter your system, because otherwise they're going to soak up all the water that's inside of you, right? So you want to have as much hydration as you possibly can to help those stools move through quickly and well. Susan said, if my cholesterol is high, she's a 7.1, can she still drink bone broth? Now, Susan, I did go and ask Kylie at Cultured Wellness. She's the programs manager over there. And you might get to meet her next week when she and Kirsty do their gut health session with you guys. They're doing a free gut health information session just for you guys, and it's free. So I'd highly recommend you go along. I'm going to email you the link tomorrow morning to register for that. So I asked Kylie, because she's the health practitioner and I'm not, so I wanted to make sure I was telling you the right information. She said, yes, the main driver for cholesterol is inflammation and sugar consumption. So she said, go ahead and enjoy your bone broth with confidence, keep that sugar intake low, and employ an anti-inflammatory diet, which includes high fiber. So I hope that answers your question there, Susan. Now, how are we going for time? 1:19. We're doing all right. I've got a 2 p.m. appointment that I need to get to, so we're fine. We've only got 2 more questions, guys, and then we are done unless you have some more questions in the comments. Jojo says she gets the green label. Which one is that, Jojo? Oh, the AM brand green label, maybe. I just realised I'm not seeing all the comments. This happened at the live with Jordan the other day, didn't it? I'm only seeing 4 comments, but I can see that there's 15. So guys, I'm sorry if I haven't seen your comment and you want me to answer your question. I will have a look at the end of the live because they do magically become available to me then. All right, Denise has a question about fibre for diabetics. She said, how much fibre is okay if you're diabetic? And are there smoothie options? Okay. I wanted to make sure that that was not something about the live here today, but it's not. It's Sue, my mother-in-law, asking questions about, I think you guys are asking her questions on email that she wanted my help with. So Denise, when considering diabetes, I imagine that your primary consideration is going to be choosing fruits and veg that are low GI, meaning that they won't spike that blood sugar. Now, when we were developing our smoothie blends, oh my goodness, we had hundreds of smoothie sample tests coming through all the time. And we share a home with my parents, and my mother is diabetic. And so I would often take these smoothies to her for taste testing, and she'd give me feedback and we'd discuss it. Anyway, long story short, she loves these smoothies, and I'll tell you why they can be very beneficial for those with diabetes in a second. So the other principles, apart from being low GI, that you want to watch for is one, and you're going to love this, make sure that your smoothie has a ton of fiber. So that fiber is going to help that smoothie stay low GI, and all of the smoothie recipes that we have with the supercharged smoothie range, like the gut loving smoothie is one of them, that's strawberries and cream smoothie. All of those recipes are loaded with fiber. In fact, the chocolate all-rounder blend with the recommended base of liquid fruit and veg has about 41% of that fibre requirement for the day in one smoothie. So that's really going to help. The other thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is making sure that that smoothie has keep up the good fats and the protein as per the formula in the challenge, and it's in the ebook if you want to refer to it. So that's going to ensure that that smoothie satiates you. And both calcium and probiotic foods are particularly important for those with type 2 diabetes. So one, you're going to want to keep up the calcium. Let's add in some spinach to that smoothie to make sure you're getting that source of calcium. And two, add that probiotic-rich food like the cultured coconut yogurt from Cultured Wellness, even a coconut water kefir. Those two are great options. The good news is that all of those smoothie blends or smoothie recipes that are in the ebook that you actually have access to through the Fibre Challenge ebook. I didn't tell you guys that. If you click that button in the Fibre Challenge ebook, it's going to take you through to another ebook that we actually usually charge $14.95 for, I think, but you get it just complimentary because you've done the Fibre Challenge, and that's going to give you a whole slew of recipes to go to use with your blends, or even without your blends if you wanted to do some DIY freestyling blends at your place. Anyway, so the good news is that all those are made with whole foods that tend to be lower GI than those processed foods. And so there are a few exceptions, like things like bananas and sweet potatoes. Sorry, I love using sweet potato in the smoothies, but yeah, that's not low GI. But basically berries will be your best friend as well, because they're going to impart that sweetness but still keep it low GI. You're going to want to, if you're going to use date paste, you can ferment that first using the coconut water kefir. It's super easy. Like I said in one of the lives, you just simply get your dates and pour in the coconut water kefir and just leave it, and that will ferment over a couple of days. And then you can use those dates in your smoothie without them spiking your blood sugar levels, but you're still going to get that rich depth caramelly taste of the dates. I did also reach out to Kylie again about this one because, again, I'm not a health practitioner and she is, and I wanted to get her input to make sure I was on the right track. She said diabetes is primarily a disorder of carbohydrate intolerance. So for you, ensure your fibers are low carb, ferment the higher carb fiber-rich foods like we were talking about, and prioritize chia, flax, psyllium, and other lower carb fibers, and you will do well. So Denise, I hope that really helped. We're on to our last question, and I'm going to skip to Mona's question now because I know that these comments disappear sometimes and I don't want to lose it. Mona just said, when using buckwheat flour in some of your recipes, can I ferment it with the diversity dough before I make my recipes? Yeah, you can. Mona, if you get the diversity dough bundle that's linked in the ebook at the end, you will get a recipe book with a whole bunch of ideas for how to use your diversity dough. And there's, things like muffins and pancakes and quiches and so many things that I cannot remember right now, but there's a whole ebook full of recipes, and there will be some guidance in there about how you can do that with your buckwheat. But if you're not sure still, just reach out to Cultured Wellness. They're super helpful and they'll be able to tell you how you can do that. But yes, the short answer is yes, you absolutely can. And you're welcome, Denise. Okay, so the last question is from Anne. And Anne, Anne reached out on email a couple of times, and Anne, I wanted to get more time to research this in greater depth for you. So I'm not completely satisfied with my answer for you today, but it is a start. So what I will do is I will spend a bit of time, probably tomorrow, just getting a bit more options for you for this question. But here's a start for you. She said, Lainey, please can you touch on what's the best fibers for those with salicylate issues? A smoothie without salicylates is hard to make. Cheers, Anne. So for those who aren't aware, salicylates are natural chemicals made by plants. They're found in fruits and veggies, and they help protect plants against disease and insects. And so most of us can tolerate salicylates quite well. Others need to avoid them for a time. And so the fruits that that are your options off the top of, with a small amount of time looking at this question, Anne, are things like you suggested banana and pear, and they're fantastic. Another one that is on the low to moderate side is pawpaw. pawpaw could make a really delicious smoothie, so do have a look at that. And even surprisingly, maple syrup you can even add as a sweetener as well. So they're kind of fruit-based things that will help to sweeten the smoothie or to add more fibre, except for obviously the maple syrup doesn't have fibre, but there you go. The other things that you can put in, now the great news is that the fermentation process in the cultured yogurt does actually make it a salicylate-free food. So you can have as much of, well, you can have that coconut yogurt, the cultured kind, in your smoothie without any worry with your salicylate. So that's a good thing. And also when it comes to your good fat, so that's one good fat is your cultured yogurt. The other good fats that you can try are poppy seeds and cashews. They're low on salicylates as well. And the other things that you can pack in to boost that smoothie are things like psyllium, chickpeas. Now I know that maybe not many people have put chickpeas in their smoothie before. I have, and you can get away with a moderate, low to moderate amount. You don't want to be adding like, you know, a cup of chickpeas in your smoothie, but you can definitely add a few tablespoons and it's fine. The other things are you can put oats in there for fibre. You can also have carob, perhaps cacao. I need to just check on that, but I'm pretty sure you can still have cacao, but carob definitely. The other two great things, now you yourself suggested collagen. That's a great one. And another great booster for your smoothie is parsley. And I know you might kind of go, oh, parsley in a smoothie, but really, parsley is one of the most powerful plants on earth. Herbs are just so incredibly powerfully medicinal. They're incredible. I used to just think of them as a bit of a garnish. You know, when you go to the butcher, you see that little sprinkling of parsley and you just take it off. And now I just really embrace herbs because they can just be such a wonderful source of boosting nutrients in our life. Now, parsley is fantastic. You can definitely add some into that smoothie. Try a little bit, and if you tolerate it, which I'm sure you will, add a little bit, then try a bit more and just see how much you can tolerate. But I'd highly recommend you definitely try that out. And that is all our questions done, guys. If you have any more, it looks like I can see the comments as they arrive and then they just leave. So if you have any other questions, do pop them in now, but otherwise I will take off to this appointment that I've got at 2. But guys, it's just been the greatest joy running this Fibre Challenge. It really is, and I've said it before, but it really is like my favorite part of my job at the Whole Food Collective. I just get such a kick out of interacting with you guys and seeing the impact of such small pieces of information embraced and implemented in your lives, and just hearing you guys say that, you know, after so many years, now you're regular, or now you're feeling great. It just makes my day. So before I go, I should remind you that tonight at midnight is the cutoff for your 20% off your fibre-rich blends. So they got the boosted Mexican, the gut-loving smoothie, the sweet fibre, the new gourmet granolas, all those wonderful activated nuts and seeds, all those things. You get 20% off until midnight tonight, as well as our entire fibre category on the website. Things like chickpeas and oats and almonds and all those things that we've been talking about throughout the challenge. They're all 20% off as well. So midnight tonight is the cutoff for that. Use the code FIBRE20 at checkout. And the ebook and the binge watch videos will also be available until tonight too. So make sure you download that ebook as well. Just before I go, Megan has a question. Is Diversity Dough gluten-free? Absolutely is, Megan. It's got a whole range of diverse fibres and flours in there, but none of them have gluten. So I'm sure you'll find that comforting. All right, guys, I'm going to go. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow. Not live, but I'll comment here in the group with a link to register for that free gut health information session with Kirsty and her programs manager, Kylie. They are both incredibly rich with information. Their heads are just bursting with knowledge and wisdom to share. And I will be there because every time I hear them speak, I learn something new. And I don't think, yes, I've got the information that I'll share it with you tomorrow. They've sent me through the dot points that they're going to be covering. And it's stuff that we haven't covered inside the challenge. So I think you're going to love it. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and we will speak to you tomorrow. See ya.